San Francisco.
You're listening to Pod at the Palace with Curtis Wilkerson on Inside Arkansas.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into the Pod at the Palace postgame show following a 90-77 victory for the Razorbacks at Vanderbilt. Once again, we did this thing where it's just a completely different team from what we saw the last time out in a very, very good way. All the sins from Saturday, they've been repented for in this one. Huge victory for Arkansas on the road, quad 1A win with their backs against the wall. The Hogs absolutely responded. They showed that resiliency. They did the refuse to lose thing. Good on Cal and good on the 7 guys who are out there getting after it. I'm Curtis Wilkerson, joined by Andrew Ellis. If you were on the watch party with us, welcome back. We had a really good time in that. If you were just here for the post-game show, welcome. We're still fired up. We got a lot of energy. Andrew, how you feeling after that one, man?
I feel great, man. You know, we always know this team on any given night is dangerous and capable of playing the way that they played tonight. We just never really have a ton of confidence about whether or not we're going to get that good version of them, particularly coming off of literally the worst performance of the season, one of the worst performances we've ever seen from Razorback basketball, period. It was a historically bad effort a mere 72 hours ago. And so, you know, the quick turnaround, we knew Arkansas really needed to go 1-1 this week. And we kind of looked ahead and said the Mississippi State game is probably more likely, but we knew Arkansas was capable of winning this game. I'm really glad they did it because now you're able to kind of breathe a little bit easier. These next few days between Tuesday and Saturday, we'll get to watch all these other bubble teams fight for their lives. But this time of year, man, we're all looking at our resumes. We're all looking at our metrics. But you really want to leave that lasting impression to the NCAA tournament committee when they're making that decision. Arkansas is doing a lot for their resume here the last few weeks. And some of these marquee performances like they've had against Texas, like they had obviously against Kentucky, like they had here tonight. Like these are the type of messages you want to put out there to the NCAA tournament committee. And Arkansas probably would be in their best interest to get at least one more win, whether that's Mississippi State or in the SEC tournament. But I think we'll see what all the bracketologists have to say. I feel like that was Arkansas basically clinching their NCAA tournament status and looked like a team that was still hungry, still knew they had a lot to play for. They knew it was at stake this week. Good to see them not mess around and to take advantage when they had a chance. Really good run to end that first half, and I felt like Arkansas just took care of business, understood exactly what was needed to do, didn't do anything stupid down the stretch, which was the only way they were going to lose this game once they built that lead up.
Vanderbilt's good. That's a 20-win Vanderbilt team. Arkansas just went in there and punked them in their own building by 13. This is a building where Vanderbilt has beaten Kentucky. They've beaten Tennessee. They've beaten Ole Miss. They've beaten Missouri. They got a lot of really good wins in that building, and Arkansas just went in there and took it to them with their backs against the wall. No drop-off. Scored 43 points in the first half, 47 in the second half. Much better defensively. You could tell right out of the gates that Arkansas just had it. Like the juice was there. The swagger was back, way more so than we saw, over the weekend. Hey, shout out to those guys because what did Cal say right after the game? You know what? Burn the tape, man. Flush it, move on, get ready for Vandy. And it would have been easy not to do that. Like that was lingering in the back of my head until this game started. But they really did, man. They flushed it. They moved on, responded when they needed to respond. And, it's I always go back to Cal's thing with this short rotation of if you only have 7, you got to get something out of all 7 of them. They got nothing out of any of them against South Carolina. But in this game, everybody ate, man. All 5 of your starters in double figures. And then your 2 guys who come off the bench, you had Jonas with 7 points, 8 boards, and you had Billy Richmond, which he almost had a double-double with 8 points and 7 turnovers. But he did some good things for you there. Everybody had an impact on the game. Wow, man. There's so many really solid performances here. John L. Davis, 21 points. He was locked in, man. That was Florida Atlantic, Nelly. He's smelling the NCAA tournament right now, and he's starting to dial it up. Really good to see. About as good as I've seen him look all season in terms of just the full body of work. Trevon Brazile, phenomenal, man. Double-double, 16 and 14. Highlight dunks, knocking down threes, cashing in. Really impressive. Knox gives you 10. DJ Wagner gives you 14. I think those were all in the second half, which was impressive because he didn't give you much in the first. Big Z with 14. Everybody contributed to the cause here. They battled through foul trouble. They battled through fatigue. They battled through, kind of a ref show. Coach Cal gets a tech. There was a lot going on in this basketball game, but Arkansas figured it out, and they didn't do the thing like they did against Texas or in some of these other games they've won where they really are just kind of like on fumes getting to the finish line, and it gets way too dicey. Nah, they kept them at arm's length, man. No drama here. Big win for the Hogs.
Yeah, definitely big for them to hold off that surge, because that was kind of the thing we're all worried about, especially with a 7-man rotation. And like you said, all 7 guys need to help. You definitely got that tonight, and they all did it at their different times. You mentioned how DJ Wagner didn't have anything in the first half, ends up with 14. Trevon Brazile, I felt like, was good in both halves. Nelly came out super high. What do you have? 15 points at halftime, ends up with 21, made some clutch free throws down the stretch, which I feel like that's a common denominator in all of Arkansas's big wins is Nelly Davis at the free throw line. But yeah, like you said, all 7 guys gave you something tonight. And another thing that, you talk about the rotation and then maybe running out of gas. That's why I think winning tonight is just such a big emotional lift off this team. Yes. Obviously, you're still going to play a game on Saturday against, what should be a motivated Mississippi State team. That's not going to be easy. You're playing at home and you still have 7 guys. You're going to go to Nashville and maybe play 1, 2, 3, 4 games in 4 days or whatever. That's taxing, but doing it where there's a lot less pressure, a lot less stress on you is only going to help this team, because I thought there was definitely a case to be made of how many times Arkansas is in these close games that matter a lot. If that would maybe start to really take a toll on the 7-man rotation, like you said, running on fumes, certainly didn't look like a team tonight that was running on fumes. And we kind of thought that might be the case coming off of how bad Saturday was. And so now they'll get a little bit of an extra rest. I feel like this team's done a lot for their NCAA tournament helps, but it really is going to help them mentally to not be as stressed out, not be as fatigued in some of these games down the stretch, because they've kind of done some of the hard work already.
Yeah, no, they absolutely have. I can't get the I can't get the picture out of my head of DJ Wagner down the stretch with the cotton, the little tampons in each nostril with the bloody. Didn't matter.
Bleeds Razorback red. Yeah. That's what we found out about DJ Wagner tonight.
I too get my nose busted when there's a jump ball called, but that was awesome, man. That was really cool. A moment that it's not quite up there with the Devo Davis losing his tooth at LSU, but just seeing him getting the nose plugged there in a big win was pretty awesome to see. And then Cal freaking out. It's just a lot of really good stuff there, man.
We talked about this a little bit on the watch party, but how about DJ Wagner's leadership, not only on the court, of course, all the things he did in the second half. And, when Arkansas has that big lead, you start doing the math and you're like, if they just don't turn the ball over, they'll be fine. When Billy Richmond, who, God bless him, was kind of asked to run the point for those last, whatever it was, 6-8 minutes of the first half, that's when things kind of got out of control for him from a turnover standpoint, which would have been the only way Vanderbilt gets back in the game. So I feel like DJ Wagner's calming presence helped Arkansas offensively. Love the scoring lift. But then, of course, he's calming down Carter Knox. He's calming down Trevon Brazile. I'm sure he was even trying to calm down Cal while he's getting teed up. I just feel like DJ Wagner's leadership and his experience really showed up tonight. And you just look around, you just feel like you're getting the best version of each of these pieces right now. It's hard to say a team is peaking at the right time when they just lost in historic fashion with one of the worst halves ever just a few days ago. But I look at all of Arkansas's individual pieces, aside from, of course, the 2 guys out with injury, and I just feel like they're in a good spot. I have confidence in these guys to come through in these situations that we've seen them have to play through pretty much the entire months of February and March.
Yeah, big time, man. And, the NCAA tournament talk, here's what happened for Arkansas. A couple things. One, we talked about after that South Carolina debacle that they had kind of just like wiped away all of the work that they had done, in the last week or two in terms of like their metrics and everything like that and how that sucked. You were a 7-point dog, 7.5 point dog on the road. And you just went and won, got a Q1A, and you won by 13. Wait until you see the bump that Arkansas gets tomorrow. They're right back where they were now. Like they just erased effectively that loss against South Carolina. This is big. And so I'm back to where I was before that game, where I feel like NCAA tournament conversation, Arkansas's slammed the door and they put the lock on it. Now you just gotta pinch it. Just close that lock. And what we have is pressure taken off the Hogs. Mississippi State coming into Bud Walton Arena on Saturday. Nate Ament, a 5-star, top 5 prospect in his class, is going to be on an official visit. And it is a play-in game for the NCAA tournament for Arkansas in Bud Walton Arena. You win, you're in. There's no drama. It doesn't matter what you do in Nashville, whatever. You beat Mississippi State on Saturday. You're a lock for the NCAA tournament. Bud is going to be on freaking fire. I cannot wait. Saturday can't come soon enough, man.
Yeah, it's going to feel so awesome to not have that kind of tension in the arena for Saturday's game. This fan base can really just savor one last home game with this team that, like you said, we kind of now know is going to be in the NCAA tournament. And I think you'll agree with this as a coach, Curtis, as a high level coach yourself. You know, if you're coaching a basketball team, obviously your goal is to be playing these meaningful games in March, make the NCAA tournament, but you can't really talk about that kind of stuff in October and in November and in December as you're trying to find your identity as a team. As you get closer and closer, now that Arkansas has really done enough on their resume, you can start talking, having these conversations. Hey, boys, we're about to go to this big tournament. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's called March Madness. That's where we're going next week. And you can start to kind of feel now that everyone's on the same page, because this time of year in any basketball locker room, you may have one guy that's thinking about his draft status, one guy that's thinking about where he's going to transfer after the year, one guy that's thinking about what he's going to do. Oh, I need to get my shot going. Are we going to make the NCAA tournament? Is my college career about to end? Right now, this Arkansas team, after that big win, they're going to get a morale boost. But now they're all kind of on the same page. It's time to lock in for the month of March. There's a little bit of less stress on us now. We just are finding our identity, continuing to find out who all we got, what all we need to do. And it's like, I feel like this team is kind of, there's just a lot less of these weird conversations to have. Now you can just move forward and you can just play basketball. And I feel like this team is as together as they've ever been, which again, I'll say it again, as crazy as it seems coming off of literally the worst game of the year. Like you said, you worried if they had lost all that progress. Good to see they still have it.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Arkansas scores 53 points on Saturday. They score 90 on Tuesday. You know what I mean? They shot 28% on Saturday. They shot 51% from the field today. They made 3 threes. What were they? 3 of 20 some odd threes the other night. 8 of 24, man, 33.3%.
Timely. That was a timely 8 of 24.
Yes. You absolutely take that. Somehow they overcame 15 turnovers in this game, but maybe it's because they forced 14. They did some really good things defensively, gave up 77 points, whatever. This is a Vanderbilt team that plays at a pretty high pace, and they're pretty good offensively. I think they're top 20, top 25 in the country in efficiency offensively. I was screaming during the watch party at Tyler Nickel getting the open 3-pointer looks. He hit 4 of them, whatever. But Edwards was their leading scorer coming in the game. It's a dude who's averaging 17 points per game. He's like a dude who can take over a basketball game. Maybe not like Trey Johnson or something, but he's that guy for Vandy. 2 points, 0 of 12 shooting. Absolutely clamped up their leading scorer. And I'm so happy to see that, because I was doing the bid on the pot at the Palace of, all right, well, which Vanderbilt player is going to go for 30 in this game? Because Colin Murray Boyles did it. The game before that, it was Trey Johnson. It's just going to be their thing now, I guess. No. They weren't having it in this one. So really impressed, man. Really am with the Hogs. And I'm looking forward to, whenever this is over, checking out the Coach Cal presser, because I'm sure he's got some bangers to talk about, and he'll have some good one-liners and some zingers that we can get to. But this was big. And like you said in the lead, and we tried to warn people, like, just be careful about counting out the Hogs. Be careful about it, because they seem to always respond. And here's the other thing. Don't get too cocky now, because just when you think they've turned a corner, they tend to prove to you that they haven't. I'm just going to try to take it one game at a time, man, or else I'm going to drive myself crazy.
The thing I keep coming back to, because you're absolutely right. I mean, there's still very much for Arkansas to get blown out at home on Saturday, get bounced immediately Wednesday in the SEC tournament, and then you kind of have that shaky feeling again. But I think the thing I always look for in these games, especially when we're doing this post game, is I'm like, if we just extrapolate the Arkansas team that showed up tonight and we take them into the tournament, are they dangerous? And I feel like the answer tonight is just unequivocally yes. I mean, I don't think it should be overlooked, like, what this Vanderbilt team, like who Arkansas just beat. This Vanderbilt team, like we talked about in the lead into the coming into this game, just been pretty solid at home. Mississippi State gets them at home, and I believe Auburn got them by 12 at home. But they've beaten a lot of pretty solid teams. Like, it's not like this is a thing that just happens with Vanderbilt. They've got a pretty high floor at home, and so we'll see what Arkansas's ultimate ceiling ends up being. But being comfortably better than Vanderbilt on their home floor, a team that's like we said, no doubt in the NCAA tournament, the type of team you might be facing in the first round. For your Arkansas to go out there and beat them pretty thoroughly and just outplay them on their home court has to give this group some confidence, even if Adu Thero, and by the way, I'm trying to avoid the whole Thero Boogie what if, because I know we're always going to be playing that game. But I mean, like I said, if you just extrapolate this team, if this is what we got, this is a team that can win a game in the NCAA tournament. I mean, they pretty much did that tonight. That's pretty much what tonight was, and that's also what Saturday is going to be. And whoever they play in the SEC tournament, it's going to be that same kind of thing. And so it's super valuable for this team to continue to test themselves in these kinds of moments with these stakes, and to be coming through like that. It just has to do wonders for their confidence as that resume continues to round out.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. Let's get into the chat and see how everybody's feeling. I'm imagining it's pretty good. I bet the vibes are high, even though it's we're pushing midnight here. So Trey Langston, he said the roller coaster went up tonight. I mean, honestly, it's just been that way with this team. The peaks and valleys have been crazy. And like life on the bubble, it's consistently inconsistent. So this is what you're gonna get. But Andrew, to the point that you were just making there, the highs for this Arkansas team are very high. And so you catch the right matchup, you catch them feeling good, some shots go down early, and these dudes have absolutely proven they can go out there and compete with anybody. And so you just want them to get there, and then you got a puncher's chance against anybody. Garrett McCollum, our guy, we appreciate you, brother. He says, I love this team. If John was here, we'd play the button. He's the guy in charge of the button.
He's the button guy. Sorry.
Yeah, he's got the soundboard. We don't have it, but we feel you on that one for sure. And shout out to everybody who's in here because, man, listen, Saturday was rough. And I'm sure some people just tapped out and said, man, I can't do this anymore. But there's a lot of people that are still rocking with these guys because I think they get it. At this stage of the season, this team is what it is, which is incredibly frustrating, but also just, man, really damn fun to watch when they're doing stuff like they did tonight.
Too much on the line for people to be giving up.
I know. It's March. What more do you want than to be playing for something in March? Shep Arley, we appreciate you, brother. He says, showing some love for the great call on Fisher from the live stream earlier. TB4 balled out. I think we're turning bound with this win. They're close, and this will be good. If anybody sees Lunardi put out his updated seed list, if he's going to do that tonight, let us know. That way we can pull it up. Mm-hmm. But we're going to do a little bit of bubble talk before we get out of here because there's a lot going on tonight. But this is major stuff for the Razorbacks.
Turns out there's 3 things you can count on. You can count on Colin Fisher to shove, which we knew. Thanks for pointing that out.
Yes.
You can apparently count on TB in these big games to just be a monster and to provide highlight dunks again. He can do that. And you can count on 7 wins is probably going to get you in the NCAA tournament. Just look around at some of these other teams. And at this point, if Arkansas doesn't get in the NCAA tournament, Arkansas would there would be a riot.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I was going to try to wait for this, but since it's on my mind, so Arkansas has 5 quad 1 wins now. 4 of them, I think, are quad 1As. We talked a lot about Georgia, and they're on a major resurgence here. They probably pretty much locked themselves in with a win at South Carolina tonight. But they were 33rd in the net. So if we wake up tomorrow and they're in the top 30, so if they moved up 3 spots, then that quad 2 win turns into a quad 1, and that gives you 6. And so it won't change anything drastically with your metrics or whatever. But if we get to the end of this season and Arkansas's got 6 quad 1 wins, well, they got another opportunity, on Saturday. Maybe that's a Q1. I don't know, because they just lost to Texas, but you'll get one in the SEC tournament. If you have 6, 7 quad 1 wins, no losses outside of the first 2 quadrants, and then some of the other non-SEC bubble teams in the conversation are 1-10, 1-9 in quad 1. Oops, you got a quad 4 loss. Oh, you got 2 quad 3 losses. There's no conversation to be had. Mm-hmm. And so this is a huge result for Arkansas. I guess we're all rooting for Mike White and the Bulldogs to beat this Vanderbilt team this weekend. But Arkansas is putting themselves in a pretty good spot to where the selection committee would really have to. They would have to really be looking at them spreadsheets, man, and some of them other metrics to keep Arkansas out of there, especially if they get one more result here.
They would just be basically overlooking the last 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, truly. Seth says, big dub for the Hogs. TB, we forgive you, Woo Pig. I knew the South Carolina game was a fluke, beat Mississippi State. Major props to TB, man. It was good to see for him. I like the South Carolina game being a fluke. That's all we could do was hope and pray that was the case. After Saturday, is like exactly what Cal said. They were due for a dud. They had one, and just let that be a one-off, man, and move on. And Thank goodness.
I mean, there were so many times early in the game because, Arkansas, it's not like Arkansas led start to finish. They were down for the majority of the first half up until those final 5 minutes, but they would be down 3, down 4 at the timeout. And we'd be like, how do we feel? And I'm like, they're hanging in there against South Carolina. It was not competitive from minute 1 to minute 40. You could just tell that they were like in it, even when it wasn't necessarily going great for them early. You could tell it was definitely a different version of the team. Hell, I think it was 8-5 at the first under 16 media timeout. And we were like, they look pretty good tonight. Like you could kind of tell it just wasn't the same team at all. I'm interested to see what your side by side, because you did the side by side of what was the 2 games? Yeah, I mean, you had the South Carolina game. Who did Arkansas play last? Texas, yeah. And you were like, you thought it was one was being played in fast motion.
Yeah, exactly. It'll probably be the same thing with the opposite result for this game for sure, man. It was just like 2 different teams. What can we say? What we got here? Christian Holt says, Wupik Sui, Nelly Davis puts us in the tourney. By the way, best game for Brazile as a hog. Might have been Brazile's best game. I mean, it's up there with the Creighton game in Maui, the Duke game last year. He was really awesome in. Is this a career high in rebounds, Famo?
14's got to be.
Might be. I mean,
he also had the 2 blocks, 2 steals. This is probably his most complete performance of having some dunks, a bunch of huge clutch threes, which, I mean, I feel like he was Arkansas's most important shooter tonight. Some defensive effort as well. Like, this was the type of performance that could get him drafted, realistically.
The top 5, top 3 in-game dunks of all time for Razorback.
Up there, although there have been some damn good dunks.
Yeah, I mean, the Qualls one, obviously, with the implications there, was amazing. Gafford's windmill, Trevon's poster against South Dakota State way back when. I mean, Ricky Council had some crazy ones, but that windmill was nuts.
It was one of the best overall. He had 3 dunks in this game, all of which had some highlights to him. Probably the best dunk, one of the better dunk showcases of Trevon Brazile's career, who is one of the best dunkers we've ever seen at Arkansas.
Yeah, that's very true. I'm gonna have to really go back in the archives. Might have to hit up Hog Stats or somebody.
The dunk archives.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Oh, breaking. John Hamm. He says, Lenardi update. Brazile is a 1 seed in the baddest MF tournament.
Yeah,
it's good to see that man get him again. Love. It was also good to see him smile. Somebody pointed that out on the watch party. Yeah, Trevon smile is a good thing. Stripey's Wig, we appreciate you, buddy. He says, late night hog dubs hit right. I'm having just 1 shot. That's modest. Drink responsibly, right?
There's a winky face, which means I don't think he's just having 1 shot. It's going to be one of those loaded up shots.
Yeah.
A 12-ounce shot glass.
Yeah. It's okay. JD Herrera says, let's get weird, boys. It's one of my favorite phrases.
That always applies. When it's 11:40 and we're celebrating Arkansas clinching their NCAA tournament status, we're weird already.
Who would have known we'd be celebrating a win over Vanderbilt like this? You had told us that at the beginning of the year. We said you're crazy.
Yeah, we'd be saying, man, you beat a team that's good like that. That proves it. And it's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Trey Langston with the Brazil flags. We love it. Love it. Good to see. Let's see. Oh, okay. Arkansas says Arkansas passed Texas and KenPom, by the way.
Up to 39 in KenPom.
It's notable. Oh, yeah. Okay.
Hogball Burner says Torvik now has Arkansas as a second final bye.
So that have moved them up out of the last 4 in territory, which is good. Arkansas now ahead of, if we're talking bubble and KenPom, they're ahead of Vanderbilt, they're ahead of Texas, they're ahead of Boise State, they're ahead of Xavier, they're ahead of Oklahoma, they're ahead of Indiana, all of those bubble teams right there. So good to see. Clutch on the call, because literally 5 minutes ago I pulled up KenPom and it hadn't updated yet. Now here we are, so that's good.
Well, isn't it just poetic that all year long we've been saying 8 conference wins, you're definitely in the tournament. 7, you're probably in, but it could be fishy. And now here we are. Arkansas's got 7, and they're probably in. 8 would, of course, obviously clinch it. It's just, I mean, you knew we worked all year to be right here. We're right here. It's kind of crazy. And the roller coaster that had to play out for Arkansas to be right in between 7 and 8 conference wins. It's just, I mean, you couldn't have written a better script. Shout out to the Vice boys.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, the next episode then will be South Carolina and Vandy. Imagine the roller coaster of that. I see this from Austin Paul. He kind of nailed it. Like Vice is going to go crazy with this one. I mean, honestly,
there's been so many moments this year where I'm like, oh, I bet Vice is really regretting doing this. Cause there's a point where Arkansas was 0-5. It's like, this is going to be a disaster. Then you have the Kentucky win. You have some of those highs and you're like, this is going to be the best story ever. Went back and forth a few times just in the last week. Yeah, that's turned out to be great television.
I want to point something out on this KenPom update. Good to see Arkansas move up there the way that they did. Hopefully, some of the other, Torvik, I'm sure is higher, wins above bubble, all that stuff. You need a little bit of a bump in all those, but just looking a little bit deeper at KenPom. So Arkansas scores 90 points on the road, and they move up from 93 to 91 nationally in offensive efficiency. They give up 77, and they move up from the 20s to 15th. Arkansas is the 15th best defense in the country, according to KenPom. And boys are locking up. Interesting, though, that was the way that this changed. But
basically, since February 1st, and really on February 1st, they played Kentucky, and they gave up whatever it was, 77, 80 points or something like that. Mm-hmm. Since that time, this team has been absolute clamps. Absolute clamps. And they had some good performances early in SEC play in losing efforts. But really, this last 6 weeks, Arkansas has been an elite. I mean, you showed the numbers a few days ago of kind of where they ranked in the month of February. As the season gets closer to the finish line, this team is one of the best defenses in the country.
Honestly. Brian, our man, he says, you guys have financially ruined me tonight like the Tiger King, but I love and watch every show. Woo Pig Suey, Hogs by 90. Well, we appreciate you, man. Thank you for ruining yourself.
Right as you were reading Brian Gard's chat, he popped in with another one. Tiger King, I will never financially recover this with my super chats. Hogs by 90. Hell yeah. And I hate to gloss over it, Brian, but you got one upped a little bit at the same time because Captain Solo came in with the 250. Boom.
You guys are awesome, man. You really are.
With you, Captain Solo.
Yes.
Curtis, did you know my favorite Star Wars character, Han Solo?
Is that right?
Nobody ever asked me my favorite character, but Han Solo is my favorite. That's my guy.
It's a question that needs to be asked more often.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry that I never asked you.
We talk about all the Jedi all the time. Han Solo, that's the coolest guy in the galaxy. Yeah. And you are the coolest guy in the galaxy, Captain Solo. Appreciate the super chat for real.
Definitely the coolest guy in Alaska, bare minimum.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, and we got Mark popping up as well. It's, hitting is contagious. So are super chats. He says the Hogs are going to Lexington. Book it. Hell, we would sign up for that. That of course is, for those that don't know, an NCAA tournament destination. I'd take it.
The interesting thing about that, Mark, is, and you hope Arkansas plays their way out of Dayton, right? That they don't have to go to the first four. But the teams that do get sent to Dayton, because you have your round of 64 game 48 hours later, the goal is to always send them to one of the regional sites that's closest to Dayton. Lexington's like an hour away. So it's like Lexington, Cleveland, Milwaukee, I think. There's a handful of them. If they had the opportunity to send Cal to Lexington, they'd probably freaking do it.
We'd have a good time. We're basically heroes in Lexington.
Yeah, I mean, we would just be at KS Bar doing all Razorback shows, and it'd be
Curtis, if we happen to be in Lexington when Arkansas won an NCAA tournament game, and right around that same time, Kentucky hypothetically could win or lose a tournament game. I don't even want to say it.
I know.
You want to talk about moments that we would want to just stand still in time. Our last trip to Lexington was so satisfying, but we could top it. We could top it.
I don't think there's any better scenario than what that would be. The only thing better would be if Arkansas beat Kentucky in the NCAA tournament.
Right. Well, it's funny. The guy that I'm not even going to say his name that was chatting in our chat today on Inside Arkansas Live, that was a Kentucky fan, was like, I really hope that we get to play y'all in the SEC tournament, and it's a situation where Arkansas needs to win to get in. And I'm like, that actually would be a nightmare scenario for you, because if Arkansas beat Kentucky to clinch their NCAA tournament spot, and then won a game in the tournament and you didn't win one, that's a disaster class.
Yeah, that would be tough scenes, man. The possibilities. It makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up.
Isn't it really fun doing these after wins? When
yes,
your imagination
really
can just run free.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, Saturday, there was it was really pathetic. I mean, it was sad. So many people in the chat were like, dude, just say something to make me feel better. Like, just anything, say something. I'm like,
Easier to do that now.
Yeah. Joe Anderson, we appreciate you for the super chat, says Jonas continues to look spry, certainly more spry than he has. He's like, he belongs on the floor now. And for a while there, he didn't. So it's really good to see. TB is confident. Yes. Great game against Texas, really bad game against South Carolina. Awesome game here against Vandy. Now stat games, right? Like that's the next step for TB is the stat games. You're a starter now. And so Arkansas needs more consistency from you. And hopefully we see that. He was awesome in this one. The rest of the guys stepping up. Yep. Needed that. I'm with you. Let's skip Dayton. Let's be done with that. What if Boogie and Thero come back? You guys rock. Well, first of all, thank you. We like to think that we rock. You rock for being in here and rocking with us. Too much rocks. Anyway, Boogie and Thero coming back. Hey, it'd be awesome if they did, because then you wouldn't be freaking out about foul trouble like you were tonight. Thero, I'd be absolutely freaking pumped for. I don't know, man. Wasn't with the team tonight. So, like, will we rejoin them when they get to Fayetteville? What's really going on? There's too much to know there. Boogie, it's all about the timeline. We talked about Inside Arkansas Live. Like it's a thumb. So everything else he's able to do, like he's able to stay in shape, get his cardio, running sprints, staying strong. I know he's been doing some stationary shooting and stuff with the unaffected hands. So a lot of stuff that he's able to do. And when you're cleared and you're healthy and that thing is healed up, tape job on it, and then you can go if that's what you want to do. I just don't know if that timeline's going to fit, man, because the body is, it's everybody heals a little bit differently. It's hard to say. I would love to have both of them. Thero, I would automatically put right back into the starting lineup. Boogie, I would bring off the bench and use him as a corner spot up shooter. I'm just being honest.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. The one thing that would give me a little bit of confidence if and when you're in a situation where you're working in or reworking in a very key piece in the most important time of the year is that this team over the last 5 or 6 weeks seems to just have so much more of a clear identity, and it hasn't been as affected by Thero leaving the lineup. Of course, you could say they missed him Saturday, but they missed a lot more than Adu Thero and Boogie Fland on Saturday. There was a lot of things they needed. But I really think like this team has found an ability to just scratch and fight and claw, and these other guys still step up and excel in their roles regardless of who's next to them. And I think that's something that we definitely were worried about 2 months ago. I'm less worried about it now. And so I have a feeling that if either of those pieces or both are going to be back, it wouldn't have as big and magnificent of an effect on these other guys as we maybe thought it would have a few weeks ago. Because that was the big thing with Boogie is everyone's like, oh, everyone's better without him. They'd be worse with him. And I don't think it's as cut and dry anymore with the way all these guys are playing.
Yeah, I really do believe that this team would have still figured it out had Boogie not gone down. It would just looked a little bit differently. Maybe it would have taken longer. Maybe it would have happened the next game, regardless. But I do think they would have eventually figured things out. It was part of the process, and I think it just simplified things a little bit in terms of roles and everything when he was out of there. But you definitely wouldn't bring him back and be like, okay, you're the point guard and you're the highest usage rate player on the team and the ball's going to be stuck in your hands. Right. No. Like you wouldn't do that. But I'd certainly welcome either one of those dudes back for sure. AI Comedy Collab says perhaps South Carolina really was a dud. They were due for. Aaron Torres agreed with that too. Wilkerson may be right, just out of gas. We're back. And yeah, I mean, my concern after that South Carolina game was that, like, would they be able to refill the tank? Because I think it was obvious they were out of gas mentally, physically, and everything. I know a lot of people were like, oh, they don't care. They don't want to be there. I just don't believe that after the way that they've been playing. They've done so much work to get back in the position that they are. They didn't beat Missouri and beat Texas to go down to South Carolina and not care. The tank was on E, man, and they replenished it enough to get this one against Vandy. And now you got that extra day of rest and you're back home before Mississippi State. And that's why I've always felt better about that game. Well, you already got the one. Like a split was absolutely mandatory. You already got that one. And I bet they're ready to play. I bet they're dialed in for Mississippi State, man.
Yeah, I still don't know how they were able to refill the gas tank, but I'm not going to ask any questions about it. So you would definitely think they'd be able to refill by Saturday. And again, if not, then you get a little bit more extra time for the SEC tournament. And then after the tournament, you get a little bit more extra time. You think like will this team be out of gas? We should probably table that talk now until down the like if they're running out of gas, it's because they went on a crazy run in March, which I think we would live with it at that point.
Yes. Pig STL says, how about that rim protection and lockdown D on Justin Edwards? Yeah, we brought that up, but I wanted to bring it up again. To hold that dude to 2 points and bucketless, big time stuff, man, from Arkansas. And they had some impressive blocks there down the stretch. There was one late in the game that I almost feel like Trevon and Jonas both blocked at the same time and like sent it back out to the 3-point line. It was pretty cool. Pretty cool to see. Let's see. Oh yeah, I saw this one earlier. Mark Poops. He says, thank you for winning, from a Kentucky fan. You're welcome. We do what we can when we can.
Thanks, Mark Poops.
Yeah. Oh man. Jaron Garcia says, does Georgia need to beat Vanderbilt on Saturday for them to turn into a quad one? They probably need to. We're just not going to know until tomorrow morning when the net refreshes. Yeah. It could be a situation where Georgia doesn't move that much because they beat South Carolina. But it was a fairly healthy win. They would just need 3 spots. So if they, let's say they get to 30, then it would be a quad one win for now. If they lose to Vanderbilt, how much would it hurt them? And what would it look like? You know what I mean? Like if it's a close game, they might stick there. If they lose, they might drop out. It's like these things fluctuate so much. I would just say, yes, have those dudes go ahead and beat Vandy. And then that's pretty much locked in to being another quad one for you, which would be good. Let's see. Okay, I want to get into this now real quick. I just need to pull up some scores. Corey says, do we know that they're in? No, we don't. But he's talking about a bunch of other bubble teams winning. We've had some other people ask about the bubble. So let me pull up the scores real quick.
Well, to be clear, Arkansas was in going into tonight.
Yeah, Arkansas was already in. So like if the selection show was tonight, yeah, Arkansas would absolutely be in. Did we get something from Lenardi just now? No, we didn't. I got a notification. It wasn't from him. Yeah. Is he sleeping? Come on, bro.
I know. Like, get it together. I guess it's 1 a.m. probably where he's at. But yeah, I can't imagine. Obviously other teams also help their case, but nobody would be jumping Arkansas after tonight's results, right? Like Arkansas got as good of a win as you can get this time of year. Definitely, I would say of those bubble teams, the best overall win, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, this is a big one. Top 40 net, so it's a quad 1A, which is as good of a win as you can get. So that's huge for Arkansas. Yes, Texas beat Mississippi State. Ideally, they would have lost that one, but whatever. Like at the end of the day, Texas still, they're a game behind you in overall record. They're 6-11. You beat them twice. Like I'm really not sweating Texas that much. This would just put them away.
I know the metrics say kind of otherwise, although they are pretty close. I don't know how the NCAA tournament would justifiably put Texas in over Arkansas, and I don't think either of those teams are going to be on the chopping block. And it's not going to be as simple as it's either you or Texas or you or Georgia. But being 3-0 against those teams certainly makes you feel good, especially with the win you got tonight.
Yeah, what you really want to see is Oklahoma losing tomorrow, and I think they host Missouri. If Missouri beats them, then you're looking at an Oklahoma team that would be 4-13. In SEC play. Get out of here, man. Get out of here with that. Congratulations on beating Arizona or whatever in November. But I mean, come on now. North Carolina won. Here's the thing about North Carolina. They've won 6 in a row. They've got one win over a Ken Pom top 50 team all season. Yeah. They've got one win over a tournament team all season. They beat UCLA in December or whatever. They've lost outside of that every quality game they played. They're 1-10 in quad one. And they're right there on that cut line of the bubble. I'm just not seeing it with North Carolina. If they beat Duke on Saturday, and then let's say they beat Clemson or something in the ACC tournament and they pick up a couple more, maybe there's a conversation to be had. I just don't think they're going to do that. And right now, I can't put them on the same level as Arkansas because people do this a couple different ways. Because you'll see some bracketologists who are just looking for a reason to put some of these teams in that probably don't belong. So they see a 1-10 and quad one, and they go, oh, well, they're 7-11 in the first 2 quadrants. When you look at it, and 6 of them are quad 2 games. So like, what are the actual qualities of your wins? And that's why I was talking about the more quad ones Arkansas racks up. At the end of the day, you look at it, if the Hogs have 6 and North Carolina has 1 and other things are considered equal or whatever on the resume, there's no discussion to be had. BCU won. they're kind of that mid-major team that if they don't win their conference tournament, that they could be a team that gets in at large anyway. So fairly notable there. As I scroll through here, Baylor, who was coming up on that bubble line, they picked up a win, close one, man. They barely got past TCU, so looks like they're still safe. Villanova is creeping back into the conversation. They have now crept out of it. They lost to Georgetown. That's not going to get you where you want to be, so we can stop talking about Villanova for the time being. West Virginia stays a little bit ahead of the bubble with a win over Utah, so good on them. I'm trying to scroll quickly here. Boise State, that's a sneaky bubble team down there in the Mountain West, and they blew out Air Force, who is horrible. But keep an eye on them from one of those last bids. Indiana loses to Oregon. That would have essentially clinched a spot for Indiana. Now they've got a big game this weekend to pay attention to. What is this? Double overtime. Ohio State got past Nebraska. So that's a huge win for Ohio State. Really puts them in a solid spot. Nebraska, if Arkansas wasn't ahead of them already, they are now. So there's a team that you passed tonight. So a good result there for the Razorbacks. But yeah, there you have it with the stuff today. And then yesterday we had a bubble hate watch where Duke just beat the absolute brakes off of Fake Forest. So we can stop talking about Fake Forest too. Okay, moving on.
That was a good bubble update.
Thank you.
And
yeah,
really, ultimately, like Arkansas's half of this is really nobody had a better night than Arkansas.
Yes. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. So Arkansas, we appreciate you. It's time to beat a terrible Mississippi State team and rematch OU win for a 9 seed. I think, Arkansas is either going to play Texas or Oklahoma in the SEC tournament, and it'll come down to whether they're the 11 or the 12 seed. However, let's do this real quick and pull up the SEC standings, because I know that there's still a possibility for some changes to happen. I'm going to try to do this quick because I don't want to have too much dead air time. So, okay, their website's moved a little bit. Standings, there we go. So right now you have Arkansas and Georgia are tied. So let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so Arkansas and Georgia are tied for 11th right now. Arkansas should have that tiebreaker because they won the head-to-head matchup against Georgia. So then you keep an eye on Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt and Georgia play each other. Vanderbilt's 8-9, Georgia's 7-10. So if it's an interesting situation, because if Georgia beats Vanderbilt and Arkansas beats Mississippi State, then you have Arkansas, Georgia, Vandy, and Mississippi State, who are all at 8-10, right? However, Arkansas would then have wins over Georgia, Vandy, and Mississippi State. So they would get that tiebreaker, which would move them into first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, ninth place. Right. Which means they would play, drumroll please, South Carolina in the first game of the SEC tournament. This is crazy. Yeah.
I don't want to play South Carolina again.
I don't either.
I do not.
I don't either, man. I don't want to see those dudes again. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe on a neutral, I don't know, but that's how crazy this is. So that's all that has to happen. If Georgia beats Vandy and Arkansas beats Mississippi State, it's a 4-way tie at 8-10, and Arkansas would have the tiebreaker, I believe. So, wow.
Someone's ass is getting kicked in Nashville, and I hope it's OU's.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Bring this up, Captain Serious Band. We appreciate you. We've kind of talked about it. Yeah, maybe on Georgia, we'll see what it looks like in the morning, but it's going to be really close about that one moving up. But Arkansas absolutely got quad one in this one. Arkansas says, somebody get TB in contact with Zach Levine's college mixtape guy. I love that. Yeah. Love it.
I mean, Trevon Brazile, if you cut up the right highlights, I could see you could come away from it being like, this guy's a first rounder, no doubt. Easily.
Oh my goodness.
You just cut up his career highlights across 4 years.
Bo, peep the latest Dickie V tweet.
He tweeted at Cal and basically, from what I'm gathering from the chat, basically said Arkansas's in the tournament.
I love that. Love that. Dickie V's goated, man. JD Herrera, we appreciate you. I know we brought up one of your chats earlier. I don't know if that was the corresponding one, but we certainly do appreciate you, man. Love that from Dickie V. That's big time. Oh, Mark's the insider here. Okay. Oh, and thanks again, buddy. He says the team arrives home around 2:30. gets the day off tomorrow. Yeah, definitely a day off tomorrow. Rest and then beat Mississippi State. That game will be similar to South Carolina, minus the first rounder. Yeah, I mean, there's no Kyler Murray boils on South Carolina. You just got to, honestly with them, you want to keep Cam Hubbard from going crazy because he's a dude who's, he's streaky, but he can get hot and go for 30 on you. But it's the supporting cast thing too. Like for them, if Cameron Matthews decides that he's going to score, then that makes them a different team. If RJ Melendez or Riley Kugel can be the Robin to Hubbard's Batman, then they're a little bit tougher. They're better offensively this year. But when you think about Mississippi State, and you always think like they're tough, they're physical, they really defend. They kind of suck defensively this year. Defend. Yeah, this is not your typical Mississippi State kind of team. So I like the matchup here for Arkansas. I really do.
Is Mississippi State just great value Vanderbilt?
They might be. They might be, man. John Neighbors, man, was going through it.
He was.
Yeah. Feel better, buddy. He says, great job, fellas. Tooth feels like the South Carolina game. Most pain I've ever experienced, but Hogs win. Makes it all worthwhile. Hogs by 90. Well, thank you, John. And man, I feel better.
Yeah.
You don't like to see a soldier, a wounded soldier. Oh, how we feeling?
I'm feeling great. We're feeling good.
Yeah. Feeling pretty good.
I appreciate everybody for being here, man. It's always cool to see the positivity in the chat. I just try to soak in it.
Yeah. Joby doesn't like the 11 a.m. tip on Saturday. I get it. At least it's going to be a crazy atmosphere. Like, the place is going to be packed. It's going to be buzzing. That is good. So hopefully that if the guys are sleepy during warm-ups, then maybe by tip-off they'll be woke up. But I get it.
You get an extra day to rest.
You get the extra day. Yeah. There's more good coming from this than bad. Appel Blue Dot says Vandy's crowd sucked. Yeah, and
it's never a great crowd, right?
It's hard to say. I think they've been it's a lot of times it's small but rowdy, and then if opposing fan bases travel though, like you can really tell, and from the sounds of it and the looks of it, they're a pretty decent contingent of Razorback fans, which is cool. But I think I just might have a different perspective on them because like they got to storm against Kentucky and they stormed against Tennessee. And it's like, oh wow, man, these guys are really getting after it. But those are also Saturdays and top 25 opponents and everything. It probably wasn't that great. Here's the one thing about Vanderbilt students: they got to go to class in the morning. There ain't no skipping class at Vandy, man. You got to go.
So, by the way, was it 10 p.m. local time?
Is Nashville still Central Time, or is
maybe Nashville's still Central? Never mind.
Central.
But it's like, there's really no shame in not having a crazy crowd tonight, especially because that game didn't mean much for Vanderbilt, frankly.
Yeah. I mean, that they clinched their spot Saturday when they beat Missouri. Yeah. But I don't feel like they were probably a little bit reckless comparatively speaking to what they typically are, but they didn't strike me, Vanderbilt, as a team that was like sleepwalking or anything. I thought
not loosey goosey.
Yeah, a little helter skelter out there. Oh man, Razor Shark says we deserve 5 stars and a thumbs up. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Razor Shark.
Appreciate that. We're trying. We've been talking a lot.
Anybody who's in here at midnight, past midnight, is a real like deep in the weeds ball knower. The NCAA tournament victory is going to feel so much sweeter for the people that are in here grinding it out on a Wednesday night or Tuesday night at, I guess, Wednesday morning.
Yeah, who even knows at this point what it is? Logan, our man, says I'll be deeper in than ever in Bud Walton Arena Saturday. We're winning, fellas. Yeah, and we're looking forward to seeing you, man. Hanging out a little bit, be a good time. I want to get to this real quick. Outside State Lions asking about bubble implications for the San Diego State game because I guess they're about to drop one to UNLV. I think they're pretty safe right now. Like they'll drop down a little bit, but Arkansas is not going to catch them with this tonight. Like if they do anything stupid here the rest of the way or in their conference tournament, maybe. But A&M beat Auburn and didn't storm the court, we're told. Well, good for them.
Good for them.
Who was it? Oh yeah, that's why Mississippi State's unserious. They stormed against when they beat A&M. You can't do that.
Yeah, that is crazy. That's when their season took a turn.
Yeah. All right. I think I've had enough. I think we're good here.
You've had enough of these sickos.
I think so.
Well, I mean,
Love
hey,
you guys, though.
we should be proud of our efforts. I don't know what we topped out at, but it was getting up near 4 digits, Curtis, of how many people were in here tapped in.
Shout out to everybody, man, for staying up and watching this and then rocking with us. People are excited. It's good to see.
As they should be. And look, as we promised, we said we're not running away from the jinx. We've had 3 watch parties before this one. Arkansas was 0-3, and the last 2, the vibes were just horrible. And people were thinking that our sour mood was the reason. No, it's the chicken and egg where the bad basketball made us sour. Proof tonight that we can be happy and we can be positive and we can have a good time watching basketball together. And we're going to be watching a lot of good basketball in the month of March, played by the Arkansas Razorbacks, who, regardless of what happens this year, are relevant, are in the mix, are dangerous, and are going to be playing meaningful basketball when everyone else is playing meaningful basketball. That's all you can ask for.
John Bell, we appreciate you.
Hell yeah,
We're
John
getting
Bell.
out of here, everybody. Appreciate you, knuckleheads, for hanging out with us. It's been a great night. Awesome stuff. Arkansas wins 90-77. Quad 1 dub for the Hogs, for Inside Arkansas. We appreciate y'all. We'll see you tomorrow. Tune in for Inside Arkansas live at noon. Y'all have